Hello, busy dads and busy people everywhere. In today's video, I want to say a few words about the relationship that exists for me between burpee training and fatherhood. This was a question that was put to me by one of the subscribers in a recent video where I was soliciting for requests for topics for me to talk about, and I put a lot of thought into this one. I'm going to do my best to articulate the profound connection that exists for me between my burpee practice and my life as a father. Now, for me, there is no fatherhood without burpees, and there is no burpees without fatherhood. What I mean by that is, I began burpee training a couple of weeks after my daughter was born as a way of attempting to stay in shape as a father. I've never been a burpee practitioner except as a father, and I've never been a father except as a burpee practitioner. I cannot separate out these two things, and that's the reason why the program is called the Busy Dad Program. That's why the channel is called Busy Dad Training. Of course, it is possible to have a very deep relationship with your burpee training practice if you're not a father. Half of the people that I work with in my coaching practice are not fathers. But still, the program emerged in the context of fatherhood for me. That's why it's called the Busy Dad Program. And it's been really beneficial for me to reflect on the connection that exists for me between my burpee training practice and my life as a father. Each person's relationship with their training practice, if they're deep in their practice, has a certain ineffability to it. My attempts to put this into words will inevitably fail, but I'm still going to try my best to share some of the connection that exists for me between fatherhood and burpee training. So when I became a father, I had a conversation with my dad. I thought I should seek wisdom from those around me. I should ask, what's your advice to me as someone embarking on fatherhood? And what my dad said to me was, you've got to put in a shift. You've got to put in a shift. You've got to do the work. And for whatever reason, maybe I was just very sleep deprived and very receptive, but those words really went deep. And the way I think about what my dad said is, if you want to be a father, fundamentally, you have to put in the work of showing up day in, day out, week in, week out, year round. It's not enough that on one given day you are attentive and loving. You need to be there for your child every single day. You need to be a rock. You need to be a load-bearing wall. And that terrified me, because I had not been someone who put in the work prior to that point in my life. I was not consistent. I was the opposite. I would put lots of work into something and then drop off the map for a while. I would get very excited about something and then forget about it. I wasn't particularly good at showing up for appointments. I'll give you an example. If it was an academic term at the university, there would always be a class or two that I would just miss with no explanation. That week in, week out, putting in the work, putting in the shift, it wasn't something that by nature I was cut out for. I am not particularly perhaps conscientious by nature. But I knew that had to change. This beautiful child was looking back at me, depending on me, and I knew it was imperative that I put in the shift, that I become someone that others could depend upon, someone capable of shouldering the burden of responsibility. And so what I realized was that fundamentally what fatherhood is a practice. You don't get to be a father just because you have a biological child. You get to earn and re-earn the title of being a father by showing up week in, week out, regardless of the way that you are feeling. Now, this concept of being a practitioner is absolutely essential to my understanding of what I'm doing in my burpee training practice. to be a practitioner, you must learn to put discipline over motivation. A practice is a routine set of activities that you perform week in and week out, regardless of your prior inclination to engage in that activity. And so to be a true practitioner, to have the consistency and staying power of a practitioner, you need to cultivate the ability to distance yourself from your own selfish desires, to laugh at them, to transcend them, to march past them without letting them give you pause, and do the thing that you must do in order to maintain your practice. As a father, that means it's 3 o'clock in the morning, my daughter is crying, I've got to get out of bed, and I've got to laugh at the fact that I only went to bed 2 hours ago. I'm there every single time, regardless of how I'm feeling beforehand. Now, the burpee training practice for me became a space in which I could take pride in that consistency that I was cultivating as a father. I thought of the burpee training practice and the consistency that I would bring showing up for the training regardless of how I was feeling as a symbol of my practice as a father. And so learning to become consistent and learning to take pride in consistency is, to me, one of the most essential prerequisites of fatherhood. And I have learnt to become consistent and to take pride in my consistency as a burpee practitioner. I think of my burpee training practice as a symbol of my practice as a father. I train burpees in a way that befits a father, and I father my child in a way that befits someone who is a practitioner. Consistency is so important to me now, and I take so much pride in the fact that in every domain of my life people can rely on me in a way that they never could before. And I cannot separate that transition from being patchy to being reliable. I cannot separate that from my transition into becoming a burpee practitioner. I've known many people who have spoken of the same benefits, of the ways in which across every domain in their lives they are just better at putting their selfish desires aside and showing up to honour their commitments and to engage in the practice that they deem to be meaningful. Now, of course, as a father, it's not enough that you show up. It matters that, aside from showing up, that you are present, are loving, are thoughtful, that you interact, that you extend to your child an open invitation to exist in your loving presence. And I believe that burpee training helps with that element of fatherhood too. Okay, as a practitioner, consistency is necessary but not sufficient to have a thriving practice. David Goggins put it beautifully. You have to put up, but then you have to put out. It means that when you get to the start line, that's half the battle, but the next half of the battle is performing well. And I believe that burpee training, the sessions themselves now, not just the mere fact of being a practitioner, but the way that the sessions work, the way that they unfold over the 20 minutes, also has allowed me to be more present, to be more loving, to be more calm as a father. Because it's an onslaught. You're 5 minutes in, your heart's pounding, your body is in a state of extreme agitation. A big part of you wants to give up. You're miles away from the end. And you cultivate the ability through your practice to remain calm, to remain present, to move through what you need to do. Something that I think is really beneficial in the way that I train burpees is the fact that I'm constantly doing mental arithmetic throughout my training sessions. Maybe I'm 8 minutes in, I've dropped a few reps here, I'm thinking about what the new average set number needs to be in order for me to pick up another 5 reps in minute 17, and my mind is racing, doing multiplication, doing subtraction, doing addition. All the while I'm counting out each rep. And I'm really proud of that part of the practice because it has taught me to stay calm in times of crisis. It has taught me to stay calm when I'm feeling agitated or restless or scared. It's the same way that it's valuable to, when you're in a cold plunge, to try and think in full sentences, to speak in full sentences, to use your mind, to calm your mind, to keep the rational part of your mind engaged. Whatever is going on, whatever the onslaught that fatherhood brings in a given day, I pride myself on my ability to be calmly, lovingly present, and that if there is a crisis, I pride myself on my ability to think through it calmly. And my burpee training practice has definitely helped me to cultivate that kind of mindset as well, that ability to stay calm amid the storm. Those are the two fundamental ways in which I think burpees have both reflected what I strive to be as a father, but then also fed back into my fatherhood practice and helped me cultivate some of the abilities that I need to be a good father. So that even when I'm busy, I'm still the kind of dad that I want to be. Burpees might not reach quite as deep into your life as they have into mine, but even if they don't, there's a final benefit, which is simply that there's a certain joie de vivre that burpees will give you. If you're training, you've got to be very careful if you want to combine training with fatherhood. Your priority as someone who engages in athletic pursuits should be that you want to increase your energy between the sessions. And in my experience, burpees, like no other form of training, have you bouncing off the walls between sessions. A slow, long grind, if you're doing steady state cardio, I don't think that really vitalizes you between sessions. A massive, hardcore powerlifting session, I would come away from that and need 10 hours of sleep and be a bit of a sloth between sessions. But burpees, just the right amount of stimulation of the whole body to wake you up, to vitalize you, to bring out vigor and happiness between sessions. That's the kind of father I want to be. Strong, yes, of course, but also energetic, full of vitality, full of happiness. And burpees have given me that in a way that no other training modality has. So to summarize, I think that burpee training practice nourishes fatherhood in at least three fundamental ways. Firstly, it teaches you to become consistent, to become someone who is capable of showing up and honouring their commitments, and it teaches you to take pride in that fact. Second of all, it teaches you to stay calm and present even in a high-stress situation. It teaches you not to get ahead of yourself, to stay in the moment, to stay and calmly move through whatever it is that you're doing with your child. And finally, it fills your body and spirit with energy, with happiness, and that energy and happiness you can pour into your children. So, if you care about fatherhood as much as you should, my strong recommendation is that you find yourself a training practice. And I'm 4 years into this training practice. There are thousands of people worldwide doing the same, and I can promise you, you could do a hell of a lot worse than get started on the Busy Dad program. So my friends, if you are a father and a practitioner of the program, I would absolutely love to hear from you. What's your experience been of that profound connection that I think exists between burpee training practice and fatherhood? Let's get a conversation going in the comments section below. And thank you to Stefan for such a thoughtful and beneficial question. I've really enjoyed thinking that one through. See you all again soon.